Hey, what do you know? This is the Melvin Live Show, and I'm glad to have you back here with me. I hope today has been a great day. It's a Monday, and there are so many things going on this Monday itself, and I just couldn't help but think that when I got to the end of the workday itself, it felt like it was already Wednesday. Well, before I know it, it's really going to be Wednesday. And so I'd just like to share a little bit about the frustration that I had. And the frustration was essentially about the audio. For some reason, yesterday's audio on the show was horrible. And when I say horrible, is because when you listen to the recording, you can hear this humming noise in the background itself. And so what happened is today I went ahead and I dived deep into the equalizer and did some tuning up of the audio. And so today it ought to sound better. Well, let me know what you think. Whether is it better than yesterday or is it the same? I need the feedback. All right. So care to share with me. So today I'd like to talk to you about this idea of the grind. Well, the grind is something that is very, I would say, very popular. And to a certain extent, it becomes a badge of honor. It's like if you are an entrepreneur and you are like taking Saturday off, Sunday off, the holidays off, and you're not working your butt out, it seemed like you are not a serious entrepreneur. And if I could share with you my days during the dot com in 2000, it was pretty much the idea itself because we would work like from Monday to Sundays. Yes, and I mean Sundays. And sometime on Sunday at 10 o'clock, we will go back to the office and we will do some work. We'll do some strategy. We'll talk about what we are going to do in the following week itself. And initially, it was interesting because you were just you just can't wait to get to work. But after a while, it began to take a toll on everybody, and it began to not be good. And every one of us were tired. So when we were at work, we were so tired that there are times in the afternoon that we just have to catch a short wink, just a quick nap, just to freshen up before we go for the next meeting itself. And of course, over time, a little more than 6 months later, you can see that the whole toil start catching up on all of us. And mind you, at the point in time, I was young, so I had all the energy and I was still exercising. I was fit. I was probably at the fittest time of my life during that time. But let's say it began to take a toll, not just physically, but also mentally. And so right now, there seemed to be this badge of honor that you have to be working like 7 days a week. You have to work like 10, 12 hours a day. And I think that simply is just not sustainable. I mean, for someone who is, even if it's someone who is starting out, it's just not healthy. It is not sustainable. And yes, we need to do our best when we are at work. However, just merely spending all our time, all our waking hours doing work itself is just not going to be good in the long run. And so that's one aspect of the grind. Now, the other aspect is that, have you ever felt this way where you go through the day, and when you come back home and you sink into your couch and your spouse asks you like, how's your day? And you go like, I mean, I don't know. It's like you were so busy doing so many things, but it just doesn't seem productive at all. And over here we have a term for that, and that term it's called firefighting. Right? And so as firefighting, what exactly we are talking about here is that you're always, running around and putting out fire, right? So like here, the firefighter, you're just, going around putting out fire, and you're just doing all that, but really, it doesn't quite give you that satisfaction. You are doing stuff that probably isn't very high value add, and so you kind of spend a lot of time doing that. And so one of the ways that I do to run away, not run away, but to escape from the grind itself is the following. Now, I set aside every week every week I set aside a day, and I name it Strategy Day. Now, on Strategy Day, essentially what I do is I will have conversation with my team, and we will go through a few details. We will go through like what are some of the things that we are looking at, what are our goals. It's not a review day, but it's a day where we look at strategy. And so during that day itself, how we kind of configure it is as follows. Because a lot of time, if you talked about what needs to be done, sometimes we get carried away and we may only focus on those things that are urgent, but they're not important. For example, it may be urgent to respond to that customer's email. Yes, it's important, right? It's important and it's urgent. And it's probably important and urgent to fix something on the website. It's definitely important and urgent to fix something about the show. And so it comes to a point whereby you look at many things and you are working on many things, but they are really not the kind of things that will take you to the next level. And so, if you're familiar with the Eisenhower matrix, it says that let's look at things that are right now. You need to set aside time to look at things that are important but not urgent, right? So, what are important but not urgent? For example, building awareness. It's something that is important, but it's not urgent. It is not urgent at two levels. One is that it's not urgent because if even if I don't do it, even if we don't have this show, um, you're not gonna you- you're not gonna have this that much negative consequences, right? And even if you stop doing it for a day or two, maybe people wouldn't notice. And so it seemed like there isn't much going on, and in terms of returns, it doesn't seem like there is a lot going on. And so it's easy to kind of put that on the back burner and say, well, maybe we should review this. Maybe we shouldn't do this every day. Maybe we should do this like once a week. Or, and then after that, it'll be once every other week. And then after that, it will be once a month. And then after that, there will be none at all. So the key here is to be able to schedule things. And when I talk about strategy days, I look at 3 levels. So at one level, we look at what I call awareness. These are the activities that it's going to help new people discover us. And it is important because when you talked about leads, whether it's warm leads or cold leads, on the front of the warm leads itself, there is just so many people in your network. But if you talk about the cold lead, it technically speaking could be anyone that falls within this category itself. And so when we did the Melvin Live show, we say that the avatar that we want to have is someone who is a dad, a husband, a professional, but this professional is at this juncture where it's facing a crossroad. And he knows that if he is going to continually pursue the path that he has always been doing, he's probably not going to be relevant for very long. And so he wants, on one hand, it's so comfortable to stick to that always. At the same time, it's also eating at him, that because he knows that if he's going to stay on that road itself, in the next downturn, he's probably not going to be able to survive. So part of him wants to stay in the old ways, but the other part of him wants to go into the new ways. This new way is where we talked about building a digital business. So building a digital business is something that is totally new. And because it's totally new to him, so he is kind of struggling a bit because he might not have a skill, and he find that he is still catching up in terms of digital technologies and the whole shitbang of it. And so it's a little overwhelming. And at the same time, he's also having question about whether is he going to be able to succeed on that new business. And so he's at this thorn situation. So unless we have a very, very clear idea of who we want to reach out to, and we build up an activity that is solely directed at that group of people, unless we have that, we are not going to be able to succeed. We will always be at the mercy and at the whim of fancy of customers, and we will always be relying on the network itself, which is limited. And so that's awareness. And then the next level is where we talked about consideration. This is where people are, they already know us, and they also know that we have things to offer. Now, the question on their mind is, should I go with this person? And to help answer that question itself is to demonstrate to them that I understand where you're coming from. I understand your struggles. I understand what's keeping you up at night. And I can help you with that. And so that it becomes a crucial thing. And so this is where we set up a list of activities and strategies to help them decide, get them to consider and help them decide. And then, of course, there is the other aspect of it, which I call it engagement. And these are people who are already our customers, people who we have worked with, we understand their concerns, and they are paying us, and we have to continually engage with them. And so, if you look across all these three, many a times we may get carried away and think that we should just focus on the customer, just do clients work, right? And that's what happened to me when I was a consultant. Just focus on doing clients work. But I was blessed because very shortly after I started my consulting practice, I've built this referral system which enabled me to continually generate referrals for me. And I literally do not have to do any form of marketing. And so that kind of kept me active, and referral became like 80% of our new businesses. And so that was comfortable, right? But what happens when that referral system breaks down? Or what happened when that group of people who knows you, wants to work with you, but now they have moved on to another level or another division, for example? So then what next? And so with this really is that you have to start working on people that it's not traditionally in your network. That's where the awareness parts comes in. And so do you have something like a strategy day whereby you think about what are the things that you would do at each level? Because each level of work are both in a way important as well as urgent. Some are important and urgent, some are just important, and some are urgent. So the best way to think about whether this thing that you're working on it's urgent or it's important, the best way to think about that, or the best way to evaluate that, is to look at it this way. If you do not do anything about it, the customers will not complain, and no one's going to come in and say that, hey, what's going on, how come you didn't do any of this, right? It's No one's going to breathe down your neck. Now when you find that those leads of activities are that, in other words, these are the activities that you tend to put it off to the next day, to the next day, and to the next day, and the next week, and the next month, and the next year. Those activities are the ones that are important. Of course, there are activities that seem to be important, but they are actually time wasters. And we talked about that the other day, right? Like, I just need to do more research. I need to do one more online course. I need to attend this one more virtual seminar. I need to go for this one more networking session. And quite frankly, it's not going to happen, because you are just fooling yourself and tricking yourself to think that I need to be prepared more. And that's where you run into analysis paralysis. I mean, you just keep on researching and say that I need more information before I could take action. Right. And so with that, I there's a wrap for today. Tell me, did you get caught in the grind? Whether you kind of find yourself attracted to the idea that you should be like working every day, working as hard as you can, working like there's no tomorrow, even giving up family time, time for yourself. Is that what you're after? Um, if you are, well and good. I mean, if that's something that you prefer and you can sustain that, that's well and good. But for the rest of us, there is more to it than just to grind. And so this is where one day a week, set it aside, look at your strategy, and then look at what are the activities that you should do at the important level, activities that you ought to do at the important and urgent level, as well as activities that you need to do at the urgent level. All right. Thank you so much for sticking around. This is Melvin from the Melvin Live Show. Let me know if this is helpful and how do you handle that. I'd like to know. And with that, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.